Hey there, my name is Chris Acton with Acton Creative, and this is a handwoven experience. And in today's episode, I am going to give you the intro to monk's belt. Now, turns out monk's belt is a very, very old pattern, but in my research, I didn't find any direct correlation to a monk or his belt. So I'm not exactly sure how the name came about, but no matter what, it's a very old, very historic pattern and is worth getting to know, putting in your arsenal for when you're ready to try a little something new. Now, today I am working out of my favorite book, Anne Dixon's The Handweaver's Pattern Directory. And if you look on page 100, this is the draft that I'm using for today. So if you have the book, you can just pop it open and follow right along. Now, one of the things that makes monk's belt very cool is its real graphic, geometric look to the fabric. It is really unique in that respect and is a lot of fun to weave. So let's talk about how to make our own version of monk's belt. First off, monk's belt is a 2-shuttle pattern. Now, you've heard me talk about other patterns that require 2 shuttles, like overshot, right? This is a simpler version of overshot, by the way. If you're thinking you want to try some overshot, this is a great kind of entryway into kicking around that style of fabric, of weaving pattern. So, 2 shuttles. What we need here is 1 shuttle in the background. This one is going to do plain weave or tabby. They're the same thing, right? This is our background shuttle. The other one we need is our pattern shuttle. This is the glamour girl. This is the one that's going to actually make the magic happen and create beautiful, interesting fabric for us. So, back to the background. In this case, you want to use a weft yarn that just use the same as what you used in the warp. Use the same fiber, use the same size. Don't overthink it. It's just going to be in the background doing some plain weave for you over and over again. Okay? So for your pattern weft, then, we need this yarn to be bigger because it has to cover more surface area. That's how the pattern is really going to pop, because we need this one to be more dominant visually. Okay? So you have 2 choices then. You can either select a yarn that is just 2 to 3 times as big as this one, or you can actually use, like in my case here, I combined 3 yarns together so that I made sure that it was going to be more prominent in the fabric and you could actually see the pattern as it emerges. That's the whole idea, is for this to really pop and this one to stay in the background, holding everything together. Now, for monk's belt, just like overshot, you have to have floating selvedges. Mine are looking a little sad. I'm right at the end of my project, but you have to have floating selvedges just because of the way the yarns are going to wrap around, especially with the pattern. They're not always going to go all the way to the end. So we want to make sure we catch those yarns, and floating selvedges are the way to do that. So make sure to include floating selvedges. Now, what's fun about monk's belt is that there's only 2 choices. When you are treadling your project, when you are pushing down the treadles, when you're pulling down your levers, whatever you're doing to lift and lower your shafts, you have 2 choices. That's it. So for this version that I'm doing, as I'm creating the fabric, I'm either going to lift shafts 1 and 2, which give me this option, okay? Or I am going to lift shafts 3 and 4, which give me the opposite. So as you look at the fabric, what's so fun is that there are only 2, they're called blocks. There's only 2 blocks in the fabric. Now, I can do as many repeats of those blocks as I want, which is brilliant. So that's how you get the variation in the fabric. You have some that look tall and some that look really short. Well, that's all about the repeats. But when it comes down to it, 2 choices. So as you're weaving it, it's easier to keep track of where you are, because if it's not one, it's the other. You got 2 choices, 2 blocks. That's all you're doing. So let's stop talking and actually weave for a little bit so you can see what this looks like. Now, when you are working with 2 shuttles, I always suggest doing a follow the leader technique, which means you always start with the same one, just for consistency's sake. So you always know where you are. If I just sit down at the loom, I know that I'm going to grab my background first. It doesn't matter which one, just make sure whichever one you choose, that's the one you always lead with. So this is my background, it's going to go first. So like I mentioned, this one, its job is to do plain weave over and over again, right? So I'm lifting half of my plain weave equation. I'm gonna toss my shuttle just like this, pull the beater bar, and now it's time for the pattern. Like I said, there's only 2 choices. And where I am in the pattern now, I know that I have to lift shafts 1 and 2. So I'm going to take my pattern weft here, send it over and under my floating selvedges. Those are key. And let's see, get stuff out of the way. All right, now we're going back the other way, which means we always start with the back root. All right, send that back the other way. Now, here is really where the beauty of monk's belt comes in. Is that, like I said, we only have 2 choices. And I am at the place in the pattern where I'm going to build up this block. So I'm going to do the same thing again. I'm going to lift up shafts 1 and 2 once again. So make sure I have plenty of lead on my weft. Oh, there we go. Send that through. All right. Okay. I seem to have lots of extras on the sides. Okay, so over and over again. This one goes through just like that. This one, oh, isn't that fun? This one is just making sure that it all holds together so that the pattern can kind of dance across the top and make it look good. All right, 1 and 2 once again. And I can do that because this one is holding everything together. All right, so I'm gonna send this back through once again. And per my pattern, I've done it 3 times. Right here, you can kind of see them right there. And I have 3 more to go. Isn't that fun? So then once I'm done with that block, creating that visual part of the fabric, I will switch and I will go to the other side. I will do shafts 3 and 4. Hope I didn't make that really confusing. However, that is what it looks like to be weaving some monk's belt. And as you're setting up your loom, you always have to kind of watch your draft because it's not going to be a straight draw, right? You're going to have some fun little, you have to do 1, 2, 1, 2, and 2, and then 3, 4, 3, 4, 3, 4. It's fun. The threading is fun for this pattern. I promise you. You just have to do a little more counting than usual. But I hope you'll give it a try. Monk's belt is a lot of fun and it's easy to create a really stunning effect. So put a little asterisk by this one and pull it up in your roster of things to try because I think you'll really enjoy it. All right, friends, try some monk's belt, would you? Put it on your list. Have a wonderful week. Happy weaving.